Hello, folks. Welcome to Hot Topics. My name is James Stallcup Sr., and we'll be covering Hot Topics in this session 314.27C 1 and 2. Quite a few questions have we've been asked about this particular section about just where are the outlets required to be installed to support such a fan. Well, we have kind of looked at this section, and of course, in your NEC book, it's page 187. The right-hand side of your page, you pick up 314.27 C1 and C2, which you see as new and revised information. In your handbook now, I have it on page 308, also on the right-hand side of the page, and it also has an exhibit showing you the type of outlet boxes that could be used for such purpose. But now the whole problem here stands in where you're going to install these outlets. So reviewing 314.27C 1 and 2, let's drop down to the second paragraph, and if you have your code book handy, turn to page 187, and on the right hand side of the page we'll pick up 314.27C 1 and 2. Now we're going to pick up the second paragraph there. And notice it reads, outlet boxes mounted in the ceilings of habitable rooms of dwelling occupancies in a location acceptable for the installation of a ceiling suspended paddle fan shall comply with one of the following. Number one, listed for the sole support of a ceiling suspended paddle fan. That's what would be mounted to it. An outlet box complying with the applicable requirements of 314.27 and supporting access to the structure framing capable of supporting of a ceiling suspended fan bracket or equivalent. Now notice what seems to be the problem. Where does this outlet have to be located and installed? Is it, say, in the furniture area where you would sit and watch TV, and you have a ceiling fan mounted directly above to move the air in and around the furniture area where you're watching TV? Would this be an outlet over the bed of a bedroom? Would it be an outlet in the kitchen? Where a ceiling fan could be mounted and used. But we're finding a lot of folks making the interpretation that even on outlets that were mounted, say, on the side out from the wall far enough that you could install a ceiling fan, these type of outlets had to be installed. Well, was that the intent of 314.27C as in car 1 and 2, or is it an interpretation? Now, as next we're going to look at an illustration showing such an installation. But again, I think this is at this time is a 90.4 installation. It's up to the authority having jurisdiction to determine which outlets in a dwelling unit would be required to have such a ceiling box outlet installed to support a ceiling fan. If you're making these installations, I would certainly check this out with the authority having jurisdiction and determine what is their interpretation of this rule. I think it would be very important for you to do such a thing before you make such an installation and have to change those boxes out. Now we're going to move and take a look at an illustration showing such an installation from the Stallcup's Illustrated Code Change book. And let's start with the purpose of the change at the very bottom of the illustration. And notice it's a revision. And the revision kind of clarifies when you're reading through it where these outlet boxes may be required, or maybe just one in a room required. We're going to kind of look into that. But notice note 1. reads special listed outlet box can support a paddle fan weighing more than 35 pounds. However, it has to be listed and marked for the maximum weight to be supported in accordance with 314.27C as in car. Note 2 reads outlet box listed for support of fan. And then item 2 says outlet box shall require access to the structure framing. 3, capable of supporting ceiling fan, and be sure to review the requirements of 314.27 C1 and C2. And then, of course, the fourth item is a ceiling box is not used for sole support of a ceiling fan per 314.27C. Now, the problem with this new rule and revised rule or requirement, whatever you want to call it, is that does this ceiling fan box have to be in a room where there's furniture sitting to watch TV and you put a ceiling fan in the center to circulate the air? Or maybe over the bed in a bedroom, in the kitchen and the area to circulate the air in and around the kitchen, maybe over the dining room table, areas like that. But we're finding out in the industry that all boxes, say in a dining room area or a den, all boxes where a ceiling fan could possibly be supported is required to be this type of box. Was that really the intent of this section, or it was just the intent to provide an area where such a fan could be installed to circulate the air? I hope the code panel will kind of clear up this interpretation that's being made by different folks in different ways, so we're all on the same page. But right now, I feel like that before Electrician should install these outlets or outlet, they should check with the authority having jurisdiction and see if all the boxes in a den or a living room, etc., should be this type of box in case a fan was later to be installed. Are we gonna what if this section to death? Just really what was the intent of the code panel when they wrote this requirement? Now, notice in the illustration that in OSHA 1910 305B, we pick up some requirements for ceiling fans. 70B 2.2 refers you to Chapter 7 and the NEC for the installation of such a box and outlet. And then, of course, 70E would pick up the frequency checks, maintenance checks, and things like that where necessary. The Annex A2 and 70E would list the safety-related work practice, if any are involved. And then UL 514D as in dog would add additional, pros and cons on such an installation with the box, say an outlet box to support a ceiling fan. Now, the identified outlet box, we can pick up information in 22.18 as well as 314.27C. The ceiling box in support listed solely for such installation is you can find more information in 314.23D as in dog and 314.27C1 and C2, which we have been talking about. Now, I hope this illustration, along with the information that we gave previously, will help you and the authority having jurisdiction to be on the same page when such an installation of boxes is made, determining the number that may be in a den, dining room, or wherever. This seems to be questions that come in. Which boxes are required to be such a box? And I believe right now that we're going to have to leave that up to the authority having jurisdiction to determine that, so we know where these boxes have to be installed and we don't have to take out boxes and replace boxes. I always thought, if they want to put a ceiling fan in a certain area, well, there's boxes available to us to do that. So check with the authority having jurisdiction, and good luck with your interpretation and their interpretation, and may we all be on the same page in the future when the 2023 edition of the code is available for us to go by maybe a revised rule that'll clarify up this misunderstanding between installation and inspection.